Larry Kudlow was just out minutes ago expressing the optimism taking over Washington, D.C. this morning in regards to the stimulus negotiations. Let's get right into it and talk about the very important interviews that took place this morning. But as always, my videos are for everybody, including Social Security recipients, retirement, disability and survivors, SSI, supplemental security income, VA, RRB, low income, and no income. But welcome back. Today is Wednesday, October 21st. Let's get right into it. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and please be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. If you're returning, hey, welcome back. Great to see you again. Thank you so much for being here and for offering your friendship and so much support. I sincerely appreciate it, as you know. Let's get right into this and talk about these very important interviews that took place this morning. Like I just said, Larry Kudlow. If you're not familiar with Larry, he's typically a pretty grumpy guy, and he's not exactly a very happy camper. However, this morning, he was out in this interview and expressed his optimism that is literally taking over Washington, D.C. this morning. In fact, in his interview, I counted at least 3 times where he said there is a ton of optimism in Washington. He said it's a cloudy day here in Washington, but there is optimism. He said it at least 3 times, which is pretty interesting coming from him. So it's pretty good when he is showing so much optimism regarding the stimulus negotiations. He also, the person who was interviewing him, the reporter, said, "Hey, Larry, what about the direct payments?" As we know, direct payments in their language is code word for the stimulus checks. We call it stimulus checks, they call it direct payments. But either way, the reporter asked Larry, what about the direct payments? Are they a little bit nervous about sending them out? Because as we know from the first round, from the CARES Act, many people used that money to pay down debt or they saved it. And Larry Kudlow responded, "Oh no, President Trump is keen on sending out another round of direct payments to the people, otherwise, like I just said, stimulus checks." So he said the president is keen on sending these out and he supports them. He always has. So that's very important. In fact, Larry Kudlow also said that the president would be willing to overbid on them. As I heard Larry say that, I thought, that's great. President Trump, please overbid. As the people, we are begging you, please overbid on the stimulus checks. Wouldn't that be great to throw an overbid on the stimulus checks? That'd be awesome. That'd be pretty cool. As for Steve Mnuchin, as we know, he's overseas right now. He is still in the Middle East. However, he's going to be returning tonight where he's going to be picking up negotiations with Nancy Pelosi. So that's good. They're getting, they're talking once again. This morning, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows was out in a separate interview, and he said that the goal is to have a deal within the next 48 hours. So 48 hours from now would put us on or before Friday of this week. So as we know, the other day, Nancy imposed this 48-hour deadline, which actually expired last night. But again, don't worry about it. It's just it's an ambiguous deadline that they're throwing out. However, Mark Meadows said this morning, like I just said, he reiterated this 48 hours, and he said they need to have a deal within the next 48 hours. So like I just said, that's on or before Friday of this week. So it's pretty interesting that he's throwing that out there as well. I have a note here from Nancy I'll talk about in just a second. Also, Mark Meadows, in this same interview, he said that he recognizes that there are Republican senators who oppose another stimulus package. However, he's going to be meeting with the GOP members today and talking with them along with Steve Mnuchin. So that's great. As for that note from Nancy, or the statement from Nancy, Nancy said that they need to have a deal by this Friday. So again, this Friday, Nancy is saying they need to have a deal by this Friday in order to have it passed by next Friday, right before November 1st. So that would be October 30th, next Friday, that they want to have this thing passed. Now again, I just want to say, a deal does not mean that it's actually passed, but rather a deal means that both sides have come together. They both say, yep, we agree on this and that. We agree on everything within the stimulus proposal. We agree, and this is going to be a deal. Once they have a deal, remember, it needs to go through voting. The House needs to vote on it, the Senate needs to vote on it, and then eventually it needs to get to the president for a signature. So just remember that. If they come out and say that they have a deal, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's passed. It just means that they finally have an agreement. But remember, we need to have an agreement before we can have a deal, and then a deal before we can get the voting. So I hope all that makes sense and isn't confusing. But either way, it's, we're waiting for that deal, which they anticipate will be this Friday. Also, Nancy Pelosi submitted a letter to her Democratic colleagues last night. And in this letter, she stated that the deadline, as of last night, enable them to see decisions can be made and both sides are serious about a compromise. So that's good. Again, we're seeing optimism among so many people right now. Nancy Pelosi, Steve Mnuchin, Larry Kudlow, Mark Meadows, the president. We know that he's always been in support of all of this. In fact, he's been saying he wants to go big or go home, or he'll overbid on the stimulus checks, all that stuff. So this is good. I know we've been showing optimism, but really, there's a lot of optimism, and they actually are making quite a bit of progress. Also, just side note, if they didn't have any intentions of making a deal, why would they be doing this? I get it. It could be just for political rhetoric, but at the same time, it's like they're wasting a ton of time if they have no intentions of coming together on a deal. So, like I keep saying, it's just a matter of time. They're going to get this thing done. They're going to have a deal. It's just a matter of when. So we're crossing our fingers for this Friday so that they can vote on it and get it passed by next Friday. Also, back to Mark Meadows. He was out in his interview this morning, and he said that the negotiations have entered a new phase. One in which that is technical, in which they need to agree on the numbers and the technicalities of these proposals and deals. So again, there's still a few little sticking points, that state and local government funding and the liability protections. But, that's what they kind of need to work through at this point. But they have a couple days where they need to get all of this together, which is great. So it's nice to see so much optimism. I think it was key to listen to Larry Kudlow, because remember, Larry doesn't come out all that much, but when Larry Kudlow does come out over the last few weeks, over the last few months, he has been the one kind of banging the drums saying, yeah, we don't need another stimulus proposal. We don't need another stimulus package. We have this V-shaped recovery. We don't need anything. So he's the one. And now all of a sudden this morning, he's out showing like, hey, yeah, this is great. There's tons of optimism. So I wanted to hit that again because Larry has been one of these people who has not been in support of a stimulus proposal or stimulus package. But here he is showing his optimism. So this is good stuff. It's great. Now, again, I want to hit on Mitch McConnell one more time. Mitch is over there saying, all these different things. There's all this speculation and all these statements of Mitch McConnell saying he's not supporting it. He's had these secret talks yesterday, apparently, advising the White House not to make a deal. Let's not worry about Mitch McConnell right now. I keep saying this in all my videos. I know it's easy to get caught up with the statements that he's making, but let's not try to get too caught up with Mitch McConnell right now. On one hand, he says a statement saying, I'm not going to support anything, and I'm advising the White House to not make a deal. Whereas on the other hand, he says, if the president agrees to sign it, then I'll bring it to the floor for a vote in the Senate. So again, I don't want you to get too caught up with that. Let's just focus on the stimulus proposal that is getting very, very close. And let's just keep our fingers crossed for all these people that they actually have a deal by Friday. So I hope that helps you out. This is the latest information. This is, it's getting exciting. We're getting very close. So either way, I'm going to continue watching this throughout the afternoon, and I'll be back as soon as we get more information. Enjoy your day, everybody. I'm always here for you, as always. And I'm excited to finally report some really, really exciting news when we finally get a deal and where this thing can finally go into some voting next week. So enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.